My short film, World War III Begins, recently premiered at the Los Angeles Comedy Film Festival, and it was an incredible experience. I met a lot of great people, it was a great time, and I'm really glad I went.
And it also won the semifinals award at the Student World Impact Film Festival.
My attendance at this festival really inspired me to make this new video series that I've been meaning to make for quite some time now. This new making of documentary series about kind of my inspirations for the various films, how I made them, the way I made them, when, where, how, you know. Welcome to the first part in a new series that I'm making, the making of World War III Begins. This entire short film was based off of a TikTok series that I did. World War III is beginning, and each country is reacting to it, based on the stereotypes and occasionally the history of said country. So in order to tell the story of how this short film came about, I have to really go back, like way back to January 2020. Back when we were all so young and innocent. By that point, I had been making TikToks for a couple weeks now. I had just gotten onto the platform. I had a total of 12 followers at that point. This was a long time ago, as I just said. I just started, making videos that I thought were funny and posting them out there, and it started getting some traction. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, that's awesome. I remember it was early 2020, before the COVID pandemic. Relations between the United States and Iran were, for lack of a better term, and we were essentially going to go to war with each other, really to cap off the shit show that was that year. People were theorizing that that was going to lead automatically to World War III. A friend of mine and I were hanging out, one of my childhood best friend, Lainey, we were hanging out one night, and I was talking about I wanted to do this video using, the song Shipping Up to Boston. Whenever I think of that song, I think of my favorite Martin Scorsese movie, The Departed. In that song, in the first 15 seconds, there are 8 drum beats. And in between each drum beat, I wanted to put like a different example of something. The idea for this video I had was I put like a theme at the top of the video in text, and then like in between each of the 8 drum beats, I put like a different example of that thing happening, like people reacting to something happening. I had that just cooking in my mind, but also I wanted to do something with like World War III. That's something that's in the news, it's relevant, My friend and I, we just kind of started going back and forth on like different countries, how they would be reacting to World War III beginning. Like, the US and Iran are going at it. I said, what if like Germany's like, hey, you can't do this without us, man. And Lainey was all like, yeah, what if France is already waving the white flag? What if Japan is like running away scared? What if Switzerland is like passed out asleep? Out of nowhere, we just started throwing all these examples together, and I realized in that conversation, I was like, we just came up with 8 really good examples. That TikTok with the song Shipping Up to Boston, let's do that with World War III. And so we did. We immediately went upstairs and made the first World War III Begins video. Obviously, I'm the one featured in the actual video, but my friend Lainey is the one holding the camera. She was a very integral part into the history of this series, and I couldn't have done it without her. So long story short, I made that video and I posted it on TikTok. And I woke up the next morning and it had gotten maybe 200 likes. And I was like, yeah, that's great, that's cool. I didn't think anything of it. It's just pretty much that it had reached its max of what I thought was going to be its max of the amount of likes it was going to get. I remember it was exactly 7 days later. I was also hanging out with Lainey, and I was sitting on the same spot on the same couch that I was when I posted that video. I got a notification saying that, oh, you got 12 new likes on the World War III Begins video. I was like, 12 likes? I don't know, that's really cool, yeah. And I put my phone away. I got another notification immediately after that. You have 20 new likes. 20 in addition to the 12 I just got? That's cool. Put it down. Got it back up. You have 30 new likes. What is happening? Right before my eyes, that video was going viral. And that was my first viral video. That was the start of my entire TikTok career, Instagram career, YouTube Shorts career. That was the start of the entire World War III Begins several years saga as it's become now. And as me sitting on that couch, looking at my phone like, what is happening? I didn't say anything to Lainey because I didn't want to jinx myself. I don't believe in stuff like that, but, knock on wood. I'll take what I can get at this point. People all over the country, all over the world were liking it, commenting, loving it. The big thing they were commenting, though, was hearing about dude, you forgot about this country. Well, this was before TikTok was banned in the nation of India, and there was a lot of people in India that were on TikTok, and a lot of those people saw that video. What about India? What about India? I was particularly this one guy, I wish I remembered his name, commented something like, there was a great video, I'd love to see you do part 2 with India. And it was him saying that. That was the first time it ever occurred to me, oh, I can do a part 2 to this. So that's what I'm gonna do. 2 weeks after I posted the initial video, actually, that I made a part 2. The second video, obviously, I included more of the countries that at that time people were commenting they wanted to hear and see from. India, obviously, Canada, Russia. I actually filmed that part 2 video in the kitchen at my work. I was working at an assisted living facility and I had some time to kill. I filmed that video, so that's where I am. A lot of them are like in hallways, bedrooms, like apartments or something like that, but that one looks like I'm in this weird like blue kitchen. It's because I was at work filming it, which is something I obviously shouldn't have been doing. But my manager actually, she walked past me as I was filming the video. While I was filming the India part of it, looks at me, she goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm filming a TikTok." She goes, "Gen Z." Walks away. She just goes, "Gen Z," and walks away. It was actually a couple weeks later. That same manager asked me, "Oh yeah, Riley, how'd that TikTok do?" And I'm like, "Great. It just got to 2 million views." And she laughed. And I was like, "No, seriously." She goes, "Wait, what?" That is the history behind part 2. After that, I went back to my apartment in Chicago. I was attending film school at the time. And that's where I filmed parts 3 through 7. That was until, however, as we all know, the COVID pandemic happened and the world was put into lockdown. And that's when I was back in Milwaukee filming the last couple parts of it. And back in the original series, I got up to part 9. I felt like by that point I noticed the videos weren't getting as much traction. It had been a couple weeks, and I felt like by that point the joke had run its course, and I really wanted to make a final part 9 that would be like the culmination of everything. That would be like the series finale of this entire thing. And that would be the last official video of the series. So I made World War III Begins Part 9, or was World War III Begins Finale. It was kind of a dumb video, but I enjoyed it. I tried to give the video like this epic feel to it, and the theme of the video was the Illuminati destroys the world, and I'm the only one that's remaining. Just before they destroy me, I pull out the Uno reverse cards and reverse everything so that it all never happened, and it saves the world. And the end message that's like, we're all people, and we all need to learn to love each other or something like that. And it was a weird video, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty cool finale. By that point, I had gone from 12 followers to 55,000 in just a couple of weeks. I was spat out at the end of that series like, oh, okay, what is this thing this tidal wave that I've just started swimming? That was the original World War III Begins series, and I left it alone for a good, I'd say 2 years. I reposted the videos here and there on my TikTok. Some of the reposts, they would do very well, but they would never, reach the same heights as they would when they initially posted them. So then cut to about 2 years later. It's spring semester 2022. I've moved out here to Los Angeles. It was my semester in LA. It was during that semester that a very horrible situation has happened that is still happening to this day. Russia invaded the Ukraine, potentially leading to a war, potentially leading to another world war. And then from there, I thought, what better way to promote my personal brand than by capitalizing on global tragedy? So I decided to repost the World War III Begins series at that specific time. And because of the whole Russia-Ukraine conflict, World War III was a really relevant topic. Those videos went viral. By that point on TikTok, I had garnered a following of 275,000 followers. And with reposting the World War III Begins series, I took that from 275,000 to over 300,000. In addition to posting on TikTok, I also started posting on Instagram as well. And then on Instagram, I went from 4,000 to 36,000. As I was reposting the first initial series, I got to part 8 and I was like, I feel reinvigorated. There's still love and there's still passion for these videos, and I want to keep making them. I don't want to repost part 9, the finale. I want to keep going because I've learned a lot more about countries. I've learned more about the world. And so I made a new version of part 9 that was a direct continuation of the series, not a finale, a direct sequel. That's why if you watch the entire series in linear order, you notice there is a very noticeable increase in the quality of the filmmaking from parts 8 to part 9. There is a massive leap in the lighting, the framing, everything. The reason why is because there is a 2-year time jump between the two parts. And I made parts 9, 10, 11. I got up to part 25. By part 18, I was already I remember telling friends, I was like, I am running out of ideas. Part 18 is going to be the last one. But then it's I have a couple ideas for a part 19. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to make part 19. 19 is a really unsatisfying number to stop with. So I did part 20. But then as I was making part 20, I was like, okay, I came up with a couple for part 21. So I made a part 21. I just kept doing that. And by the time I got to part 25, I was all like, I am done. I am out of ideas. I think it was in part, what was it, 24? I think I put the Will Smith Academy Award slap as is. So I was reaching for ideas. I went from 9 parts in 2020 to 25 parts in 2022. So this is my signature series, The World War III Begins. It is such an important part into how I've garnered this following and what has really been a massive part of my life over the last what is now, as of the recording of this video, 3.5 years of posting at least 1 video a day, engaging with followers, building that community, gaining my new filmmaking, marketing, social media, and advertising knowledge. And it's all a very significant part of that is thanks to the World War III Begins series. And because of all that, I thought to myself, I really want to take this series and use this as a portfolio piece. Like, why not? I am a filmmaker, so I make video content for everybody to enjoy. TikTok is that avenue of which I do it most often. By that point, I was finishing up film school, and I'm like, I just need to build a portfolio. I just need to show people like a filmmaking portfolio. And I really wanted these to be a part of that. But then I thought, I just feel weird adding 25 individual 15-second videos, all of which they have copyrighted music on. Again, all of these videos are with the first 15 seconds of shipping up to Boston. So I just felt weird. It was kind of towards the latter half of the semester. By that point, the video series was coming to an end already. And I had that thought. I'm like, what if instead of putting these TikToks in my portfolio, I essentially make a short film adaptation of this series? I could make like a 3, 4, 5-minute video sketch that's an adaptation of these. I take the best jokes from the series and I adapt it into a short film. And I take that film and I use that as my portfolio piece. And then I have the TikToks are like, this is the roadmap leading up to this. This video is based off this incredibly successful video series that I did. And that's basically the entire inspiration of what led into this series, what led into this specific short film. Now I want to talk about the actual making of the film. So like I said, by that point, I was finishing up film school. I had my studies, internship, find a new apartment. I was graduating. I had to find a job. There was a lot going on. So I kept kind of pushing it back. I did end up graduating, finishing my internship. I found a job, and I was after working there for a couple of weeks that I had like these 2 days off back to back. This is my opportunity to make the 2 short films at the time I was thinking about making, and which I have since made. Those 2 shorts obviously being World War III Begins, and another one that I'm going to be making a making of documentary of here in a little bit called The Customer's Always Right. Check that out on my YouTube channel. Every short film I do, I really try to explore something new, focus on a different avenue of filmmaking that I feel like I can improve upon the last one. Like knowing what worked in the last one, how can I improve upon this for the next time? I try to kind of challenge myself in a new avenue of the filmmaking process. With my first narrative short film, it was a horror comedy slasher called Pizza Face. My actors were incredible, and I do think I had some fun ideas with the script, and I don't think it's terrible, but looking back, it wasn't as good as I think it could have been, what with me being such an inexperienced filmmaker by that point. So that was Pizza Face. The thing with that was, I think I just needed to learn how to tell a more tight, concise narrative story. So that's what I decided to do for my next short film after that, which was Silence of the Karens. It's a horror comedy parody film about the state of whether or not people should wear a mask in the COVID pandemic. Obviously, it leans very heavily into one specific opinion of that, so put your politics aside and just watch the film. Silence of the Karens is my most award-winning short film. It has since been featured in a great number of film festivals and showcases, and it's gotten me a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten if not for that short film. I think the big complaint from like industry professionals that I was receiving, okay, for the next time, focus more on cinematic lighting. So that's what I did for my next short film, Why the Long Face. It was a class project I did for my Directing 2 class. It's a very emotional drama short about a young woman learning how to recognize a toxic relationship and gaining the strength and courage to remove herself from that toxic part of her life. For that short film, I really wanted to focus on cinematic lighting. So that's what I did, and that film looks beautiful. From there, a lot of the constructive criticisms involved audio mixing. The audio mixing in that film is atrocious, and that's on me because I was the editor. I was the audio editor. I, at the time, had never really learned much about audio mixing. So for my next short film, I really wanted to focus specifically on audio mixing. So my next project, which was also my final for Directing 2, actually, I did my short film, My Roommate from Hell. We all have experiences with roommates that are less than desirable. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the best person to live with either. This short is about a young woman who moves in with a roommate who's a literal demon from hell. They just antagonize her to near death. And it's about what she does in response to that, how she grows and changes from all that. I learned a lot about audio mixing through that process. A lot of it was YouTube tutorials, just hands-on experimenting, like, okay, that sounds good, that doesn't. I basically taught myself how to audio mix through that project. And it was also through that project that, because I really wanted a very specific look for the, like, visually. So with that, I started another thing that I hadn't really done very much, was like getting really in-depth into the color correction. Focus on that for my next project. From there, I had a 4-part documentary series about my experiences going to the Marvel Universe of Superheroes exhibit at the Chicago Museum of Science and Industry and the Warner Brothers Studio Tour Hollywood. They had an exhibit called Action and Magic, where they have like the DC superheroes and the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I took all these photos and videos and I was all like, well, instead of posting them on my Instagram stories, why don't I make a documentary about my experiences going there? So I wanted to make that 4-part documentary series with a focusing specifically on a lot of color correction. So long story short, I made Pizza Face. From there, I wanted to focus more on better, more concise storytelling, so I made Silence of the Karens. And from there, I wanted to focus more on cinematic lighting, which is how I made Why the Long Face. And from there, I wanted to focus more on audio mixing, which is how I made My Roommate from Hell. And from there, I wanted to learn more about color correction, and which is how I made the 4-part documentary series. Going forward after that, with this one, I really wanted to learn more and experience more what it was like filming on a green screen, which I did for the World War III Begins. And the customer is always right. I'd never filmed on a green screen, at least not to this level before, and I really wanted to. I studied up on it. I filmed the entire short in my kitchen / living room in my old apartment. Editing on a green screen, it's very in-depth. I had worked on a green screen before, not necessarily on Adobe Premiere Pro, some cheap, crappy iMovie effect with Premiere Pro. This was so much more in-depth, and I learned a lot more about the controls, because the reason why people use a green screen and sometimes even blue screens versus any other color is the colors green and blue don't naturally appear in human skin tones. What you have to do with a green screen is you put it behind people. You have to make sure it's very, very well lit, backlit, and you also have to make sure your subject is lit, but that's just filmmaking 101. You have to, what's called keying, you have to physically take out all the pixels where the color green appears. From there, a lot of that light, since you're lighting the green screen very well, that light is bouncing off back onto the subject, giving like this green tint to it, like shade along the sides there. So then you gotta color correct that out. And it was a lot of really in-depth experiences, messing with a lot more in-depth controls. It was a great experience, and I learned a lot about it. I ended up making the World War III Begins on, in reality, it was a royalty-free stock photo of a courtroom I found on a free website. The desk I was at was actually my kitchen table that I assembled myself. What with the writing process of this short, I wrote the script like a month earlier. I really wanted to keep the anthology nature of the entire series, keep the idea that there's the prompt, World War III begins, and each country is reacting to that based on the stereotypes of that country. I essentially wrote it from the perspective of all the quote-unquote major countries that would be reacting to World War III beginning. Put it in this context of like United Nations conference. World War III is beginning, and various diplomats from each country are reacting to said event happening, which obviously, you know, includes like more dialogue, more interactions with the other characters and stuff like that. And yeah, I did what I sought out to do, and that was make a short film adaptation of this entire series. So I made the entire video, posted it on my YouTube channel. I've since submitted it to the LA Comedy Film Festivals, and it was featured in that. And now here I am making a video about the making of it. So now with the last part of the video, I really wanted to focus more on telling some of the more fun behind-the-scenes little anecdotes and stories that I have from the making of this series. So there are really 3 specific stories I wanted to tell, and I'm going to tell the simplest one first. With India, if you notice, I had it in the script that India, after they say, no, we're not going to fight in your war, they take a sip of water. Pakistan and China, who India has very bad relations with. In the script I wrote, it said that India does a spit take. I did like maybe 5 or 6 takes of that. So much water I had spit out all over my kitchen floor. And it's just like, I would have to clean that up. And it's only water, I guess, but, you know, I was just like, I was bummed out. I just wanted to do one more take of the spit take, but instead of, like, spitting it out, I wanted to, like, spit it, like, back in the cup. But if you look closely in the film, you'll notice if you slow it down especially, that's not what happens. I don't spit it back into the cup. In the actual take, what I do is the water, as I'm spitting it out, by complete accident, the water goes out my nose. That's why if you look closely, there's like 2 spurts of it. Like I spit and then after that, like goes out my nose. That was completely unplanned, completely unexpected, but I was so in the moment. I'm like, nope, gotta keep going, gotta keep going. That for safety take I did, that last one, that was the one I went for the short film. Now with the second fun story, this one's a little bit somber. It's not necessarily as strictly speaking funny. Obviously the joke is Latin America has this whole peaceful message like this is not right. This is not good. War is not okay. This is not the direction we as a global community should be going in. And then, right after they admit that they're going to help the poor, the United States assassinates them. Now, the reason why I chose Latin America specifically for this context was because I was going to go with a specific Latin American country. Real ones I was in between, I think, was Nicaragua and Argentina, or Chile. One of the 3. In my research, the United States, the CIA specifically, assassinated so many Latin American leaders whose platform is they're going to help the poor. They've either imprisoned or assassinated under suspicion of them being communists. I was going to pick a specific country, but the CIA and the US government had done that to so many different countries in Latin America that I just thought, let me just do generic Latin America. That was the reasoning behind why I chose Latin America specifically. The last behind the scenes story that I'm going to tell you all also has to do with that ending climax. And it has to do with the fact that America, when it shoots Latin America, it's obviously standing up on the chair, revealing that underneath the desk all along they were wearing heart-shaped underwear. Really, really fun story about that heart-shaped underwear there. At the time of making this short film, obviously all the money was coming out of my pocket. I try to make, like all my TikToks, short films and stuff, I try to make everything as low budget as I possibly can. Maybe I'll order like a fun little prop online. One such prop that I used was those heart-shaped underwear. I did not have those prior to doing the short film, and I just thought I had this idea, like how funny would it be that if it revealed that the United States was all along, after committing this heinous act, it revealed that all along they were wearing heart-shaped underwear. That's hilarious. So I went on Amazon and I looked for heart-shaped underwear. But at the time, I personally could not find heart-shaped underwear that fit, visually looked like what I wanted it to look like. Nothing was available at Amazon. I'm like, what the hell? This is Amazon. So instead, what I did was I went to a very reputable online adult store and I purchased that heart-shaped underwear online that way. So the shorts came, I filmed the video, edited it, released it, got it out there. All's well that ends well, right? But then, maybe a couple weeks later, that I was at work and I got a notification on my phone saying that there's been some suspicious activity on your bank account. And I looked at my bank account, the app on my phone, and I realized I had been scammed out of $800 worth of purchases. It immediately freezed my bank account, and I had to deal with all that, all while I was at work. And it was just a nightmare scenario. I was talking with the online customer service representative, and even he said, he was all like, not gonna lie, I've never seen them scam this much money out of people before. And I've since gotten the money back, don't worry about it. But then he asked me, he goes, this normally happens when you're shopping online. He goes, have you been shopping online lately? And I realized the only purchase I had made online in recent weeks was the heart-shaped underwear from an online sex shop. That heart-shaped underwear you see me wear almost screwed me out of $800. But like I said, I got that money back, and for nothing else, it's a great story to tell now. So this has been the making of my World War III Begins short film. Again, this is an entire overview of my inspirations, the making ofs, the fun stories behind the scenes. So yes, more making of documentaries like this are going to be coming out to my channel here pretty soon. But a question that I have been getting a lot recently and over the last several months since I've ended the World War III Begins series, the TikTok series at least. People have been asking me, are you going to make more installments in the World War III Begins series? And the answer is absolutely. I love that series. It's my baby. I've made 25 parts. Since the making of the short film, I've actually made a part 26, and I have actually written the next several parts. As of the making of this video, I haven't made them quite yet, but those will be coming out soon. Who knows? Maybe World War III beginning in 2020, World War III beginning in 2022. If all goes according to trend, by next year, 2024, world's gonna go to shit. World War III is gonna break out again. And by then, I'm going to be making who knows how many. Maybe I'll get to part 50. But in the meantime, as of right now, yes, I do have more installments in the making of series. I have more installments in the World War III Begins TikTok series. And a lot more videos coming out soon. Again, thank you all very much for sticking with me. I got more videos coming soon. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and follow me here to be the first to see all these videos.